Is Trump's missile defense shield realistic? What do you think? Another day, another grandiose military project that promises the impossible. President Donald Trump's recent executive order, dubbed the Iron Dome for America, aims to build a next-generation missile defense system capable of stopping anything from rogue state ICBMs to hypersonic weapons and cruise missiles. But in reality, well, let's just say we've seen this movie before, multiple times, and it never ends with America safely tucked behind an impenetrable force field. Defense experts argue that while the US does need to plug holes in its cruise missile and air defense capabilities, the idea of a magic shield that protects the entire country from everything is pure fantasy. The Iron Dome in Israel, often cited as a model for Trump's plan, protects an area about the size of New Jersey. Scaling that up to cover the entire continental US isn't just difficult, it's borderline impossible. You would need a staggering number of interceptors, sensors, and response systems, all perfectly coordinated. Given the Pentagon's history with ambitious tech projects, this could very likely turn into an endless money pit with little to show for it. One of the more eyebrow-raising aspects of Trump's plan is this renewed push for space-based missile interceptors, an idea that dates back to the Reagan-era Star Wars initiative. The problem? Well, intercepting missiles from space is about as easy as hitting a fly with a sniper rifle, and about as cost-effective as giving every Pentagon employee a gold-plated jacket. Congress actually tried this before. Back in 2018, the National Defense Authorization Act called for the development of a space-based missile intercept layer. But by 2020, the idea was quietly buried. Why? Because it's absurdly expensive, technologically dubious, and oh yeah, it might just spark an arms race in space. Even if the technology worked, spoiler, it doesn't. Space-based interceptors wouldn't be effective against threats like low-flying cruise missiles and some hypersonic weapons, which fly too low for space-based defenses to catch. Unsurprisingly, Russia is throwing a tantrum over Trump's plan. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova accused the US of trying to turn space into a battlefield and escalating the nuclear arms race, which is rich coming from the same country that's been aggressively developing hypersonic missiles and nuclear torpedoes designed to trigger tsunamis. Russia complaining about US missile defense is like a burglar whining about someone installing a security system.
High five. All right.
The bigger issue, though, is that these kinds of defense initiatives often lead to the exact opposite of their intended effect. If history tells us anything, it's that efforts to build national missile shields only encourage adversaries to build more missiles. Russia and China already have extensive missile programs. Trump's Iron Dome fantasy would just give them another excuse to ramp up production. For decades, missile defense advocates have promised an impenetrable shield against nuclear attacks. And for decades, reality has slapped them in the face. Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative didn't work. The follow-up programs didn't work. The billions spent on various interceptors have resulted in a system that can sometimes hit a carefully scripted, slow-moving target if all the stars align. And yet, faith in missile defense never dies. Missile defense isn't just a technical challenge, it's a psychological one. The illusion of security is often more politically valuable than actual security. Leaders push these programs knowing full well they won't work, but because they sound good and give the illusion of control over an existential threat, they keep getting funded. The cycle repeats, defense stocks increase, and the US remains just as vulnerable as before. Meanwhile, the US has poured over $415 billion into missile defense over the decades, with Congress currently allocating around $30 billion a year to these programs. The result? A system that, at best, has a 50-50 shot at taking out a single incoming missile under perfect conditions. Not exactly the impenetrable shield Trump is promising. More like an aluminum colander. The cost-benefit ratio is staggering. For every dollar the US spends on missile defense, adversaries can spend a fraction of that developing countermeasures, more missiles, more decoys, electronic warfare tactics that make our system obsolete before it even works. It's an arms race the US can't win, but that doesn't stop policymakers from pretending otherwise. Okay, that's it for my little rant today, friends. Stay frosty. Thanks for clicking on this shorter video. If you hate authoritarians as much as I do, especially American ones, and you support Ukraine, consider hitting that subscribe button. And as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.